Happy Sunday, everybody. Thanks again for tuning in for another week of the Now That You Mention It podcast with Roll, Jay, and RJ. I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And I'm RJ.
Guys, we truly appreciate your time. We want to thank you so much for continuing to support us. We continue to enjoy doing this. We're having a lot of fun. We do appreciate your support. As I understand, we finally reached 100 followers on Instagram, right?
Yes, sir. Good.
Excellent. Excellent.
So thank
you guys for that. We really appreciate it. So before we get into tonight's episode, let's if we can ask you please to remember to subscribe with us here. Hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time we drop an episode. Don't forget to like us. We really appreciate that. Also, visit the Now That You Mention It podcast Facebook page. Visit us on Instagram and Reddit and our sub-following. And if you want to follow us in audio format, please tune in on Podbean, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio. Am I forgetting anything?
Spotify.
Man, we got so many of them. Golly, we're actually becoming a legitimate podcast. Can you believe that?
Man, if you keep forgetting Spotify, we might not.
No, Spotify. Love you, Spotify.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway, hey guys, thanks again for joining us. Last week, as you remember, we took a short break from the movie challenge. We wanted to give some of our guest viewers an opportunity to review some of the movies, get caught up with us, and of course, we wanted to talk about sports coming back. And unfortunately, our dear Dallas Cowboys dropped another one. And my fantasy sports team is off to an 0-1 start.
I was so
gonna be 0-2,
man.
I know.
But real quick, before we get back into the movie challenge, why don't we bring in our guest reviewer who's come back for another episode to join us? And looks like he didn't get sick of us the first time. Let's welcome in Vaughn Franklin.
Yay! Hey, Vaughn.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Just when
I'm doing good.
Feel good about our nice little Facebook page with our 200 followers. We got to bring on Mr. 300 over here.
Mr. 300. Boy, I wish that was my batting average.
So Vaughn, I got to know real quick before we jump into this, how much is Jay paying you on the side to get you to come back?
I can't discuss that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dude, the IRS might be listening to me.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't discuss terms of the contracts on open air, brother.
Excellent. Well, Vaughn, what you been up to since the last time you joined us, bud?
Oh, been watching movies, believe it or not. Trying to think of some of the movies I caught since then. I watched that. What was that movie on Netflix with Charlize Theron? Darn it. It's a good movie, and I forgot the name of it. But yeah, I've been watching some good ones. I haven't been to the theater yet. I'm trying to find a movie to go see at the theater.
Well, you know I saw a news report today saying that some theaters are starting to have little small outbreaks of COVID among their workers. Unfortunately, that stems from the fact that they're starting to service people again, and it's an ongoing thing. But I think that for the future, guys, honestly, movie theaters are in trouble.
Oh yeah, they are.
When you make the entertainment available to people at home, I know it's an experience to be able to go out to the movies, and I miss going out to the movies. There's nothing like watching a movie on the big screen. What I don't miss is paying $20 for a tub of popcorn and $8 for a Coke. I mean, going to the movies used to be 25 cents for a popcorn, 50 cents for a Coke. You can take a cheap date. But man, when you're paying $18 for one ticket,
those prices have been out of vogue for like 40 years. So what are you even talking about?
Yeah, but still, man, even 20 years ago, you could go to the movies for $20, right? Yeah. Now you can't take a date to the movie for less than 60, 80. Once you pay for the 2 movie theater tickets, which are going to run you between $15 and $20, popcorn, 2 drinks, or you buy the big mega drink that costs $12.95 for both of you to share that you could probably go swimming in. candy, or depending on what movie theater you go to. Like if you go to one of those movie theaters that serves food, so by the time you order an appetizer,
Monopolis, yeah.
man, you spent $100 at the movie theater.
Oh yeah.
And I don't miss that at all, man. I do miss the movies on the big screen, but you know what? I got a big enough TV. I got surround sound in my house. I can make the experience happen. All I gotta do is darken put the blackout shades in the living room, turn on the surround sound, make the room shake. I can take it at the house. But man, I'm gonna admit something. Something I said I was not gonna do, and that was we went ahead and we bought Mulan on Disney Plus.
Oh my gosh.
Well, my wife wanted to see it. She was really interested, and it's going to come on for free in December. But she wanted to see it now. I said, okay. So we spent it was $29, $30, $29.99. But then I started to rationalize it in this. Had I taken her to the movie theater to see that movie, we'd have spent $100, right? At least this way, spending the $30, we're able to enjoy it, and we've been able to see it more than one time. She liked it, so she's seen it 3 or 4 times already. Would we been able to do that at the movie theater? No, we wouldn't have. We'd have went one time. We'd have dropped $100 on a date to go see this movie, and then had to wait for it to come out on Netflix or streaming or whatever to watch it again, unless we wanted to pay again another, $30 for 2 tickets to go watch it. So I was
but I would argue, to an extent, the theater and having people around you brings another level to the experience. Like, for example, when Avengers Endgame came out and the final fight scene comes on and the whole theater's cheering, the scene is good regardless, right? But when you're first seeing it and everybody's cheering, I don't know, it's just not the same as whereas if we had been in COVID times and it came out and it's just kind of you and, your significant other on the couch watching it.
I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. Go ahead,
bro.
Finish your thought.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, here's the thing that Jay probably really enjoyed. Jay doesn't like to admit he cries at movies. So I'm sure this gave him the opportunity to cry at home with nobody seeing him. So he's not having to, quietly look around, wipe away tears, He
could try to practice his Mulan moves.
Hey, I'll tell you what, first of all, I will say this about the movie. You know the story. There's been changes to it. They've done changes between the live action and the cartoon. Obviously, you can't have a dragon following her around, But the artistry, man, the colors, the cinematography on it is beautiful. I mean, the parts of China that they go into, the way that they set it up, the mountain view, and Jet Li plays the emperor in this one. So that's really cool to watch him in that role. But some of Roland, you talked about earlier before we started recording was, how you hate these ultra violent fight scenes, right? How you appreciate but this one has very well choreographed fight scenes, and there's some really good visuals in this. I was very surprised. I was going into this, and just like when I went into The Notebook with very low expectations of how this was going to go, I had some people on. Well, I didn't, but you read things on Facebook and people are like, oh, it's not that good. It's not as good as the cartoon, but it's never the same. But I actually enjoyed the visuals. Were really, really, the colors were spectacular, man. The reds really, really pop. And then when she breaks out of her shell of being this hiding, being a man to becoming the woman and warrior she's supposed to be. I mean, the visuals on it were just excellent. It was really, really well done.
One thing you said that automatically takes this movie off for me is they don't figure out how to get Mushu in there. So
yeah,
with CGI technology, you can't tell me that they can't get Eddie Murphy into this movie. Come on now. Eddie Murphy made that movie too. Eddie Murphy was one of the funniest characters in that movie.
He did. They should have reached out to have Wishbone in a dragon suit.
Wishbone is their dog, by the way, Mon. They're little bitty small.
Chihuahua.
Oh, you had a dog named Wishbone?
Yeah, we got a Chihuahua named Wishbone.
We'll tell you
Okay,
the
I thought it was
story
like
about that another time.
He's a TikTok star, man.
I thought it was like the Jack Russell from the TV show.
Yeah. Hmm.
But I mean, but the whole point of this is, I think that as people start to experience this kind of thing, where that kind of entertainment is available to them at home, rather than having to go to a theater to watch a movie, I think movie theaters in trouble. I mean, another big one that came out that went straight to home was Bill and Ted's. That movie, the
Yeah.
Song of Destiny or something like that, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But that one went straight to Vudu and Netflix and whatever, and that's been a big, a lot of people. That's something. Uncut Gems was one of those movies that went streaming, and even though it got released in movie theaters, it did better on Netflix itself than it did in the movie theater. So I just think that the future of entertainment for us this is what it's going to look like.
There is something to be said for sometimes viewing movies in that format, because I will say that particularly when my children were little, sometimes you go to a movie theater and children just aren't capable of sitting through a 2.5 hour movie without being very fidgety or needing to go to the restroom or anything. And so when you go to the movie theater, if you're the parent that has to get up and take them, which 99% of the time is dad, you miss gaps of the movie. You miss parts of the storyline because
you want to see. Especially if it's a movie you want to see, like Star Wars.
Yeah.
And man, if I was watching Star Wars with a kid, there'd be nothing that would piss me off more than having to take that brat to the restroom and miss something in a fight scene or a lightsaber battle or a key element, because you guys know how I feel about Star Wars, and so I don't know. I don't think I would have enjoyed that one bit.
But so when you're able to stream stuff, you have the ability to. I mean, like even as we get into the reviews again of what we saw, I mean, it gives you the flexibility that, hey, if you need to go take a restroom break, or you just need a few minutes to get up, stand up, stretch, go do hey, let me go do something real quick, or you got a phone call that's interrupting your movie, you can take it. You just pause it, come right back, pick up where you left off. So there is something to be said for that. And with television technology today, and how I guess a lot of us are spoiled because we now can afford a much larger TV. And again, if you're able to, your surround sound system is pretty phenomenal too. The quality. I mean, you could go in and set up your man cave, if you would call it that, and have this nice big screen TV, perfect sound, comfortable couch / recliner. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, I'm with RJ. Some movies you want to see in the theater. I'll never forget seeing Independence Day after they blew everything up, and then the audience started cheering. I was with them too, up cheering. If you're cheering at home, you feel silly cheering at home by yourself.
Yeah, I think what's just going to happen is you're going to see. I don't think they'll necessarily go away. What you'll see is smaller formats start to come out, and obviously have they'll probably. I don't know what it would have cost to buy, one of the movies that did come out during the pandemic, but I'd imagine if that's going to be an avenue that, well, not if, it's just a matter of time when they have, for that audience that doesn't want to go to the theater, where you do have a newborn, all the things that you guys said are valid. And so I think you're just going to have to kind of combine the two, and the price of buying a movie is going to be, $40, $50 range at home.
I don't disagree with you guys, because I mean, there are several movies I saw at the theater when the first Batman came out, the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
I went to the movie theater and saw it opening day. Yeah. I remember going as kids, Jay. I don't know if you remember, but we went to go watch Return of the Jedi at the movie theater.
That's because Mom was in the hospital.
In the fight scene when Luke jumps off the springboard and just starts creating havoc. I mean, that was an awesome scene, and probably one of the most engaging scenes that I remember is when Rocky III came out, and and the end fight scene where him and Mr. T or Clubber Lang have their epic battle, right? And I remember the audience at that movie was they all clapped and cheered
Oh
and so
yeah.
that was one of those that was one of those experiences where you wouldn't get that at home,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and also kind of just before we get on to to let Vaughn review the movies, is the other thing is that in a way it's kind of an escape. Like, yeah, you have the luxury of if you get a call in the theater, you can, at home you can just pause it. But I don't know, for me, even as a kid and even still today, just going to the theater and knowing that I could put my phone away for 2-3 hours, however long the movie was going to be. I don't know, just that feeling of being able to kind of unplug for a little bit and just really focus on the movie had its own merits as well.
I agree.
Yeah, because I mean, I get it, and I'm not advocating for us closing down movie theaters. I just feel like this is the way it's going to go, because there are movies, but I'm to the point in my life though where it has to be a movie I really, really, really want to see to drag myself to the movie theater to see it, because there's way too many movies that come out that I'm like, I'll just wait for that to come on Netflix, or I'll just wait for that to come on streaming, or I'll just wait for that to come out, at home. There's a lot of movies that I just don't want to go to the movie theater to see. Yeah, I think the blockbuster is going to be the one that drags you, but it's got to be one that I really want to see. Like, Tenet is supposed to be the next big blockbuster, but I have zero desire to go to the movie theater to see Tenet. Now, the next Star Wars movie comes out, I'm in line. You guys know that.
Oh my God.
If J.K. Rowling ever writes another Harry Potter book, I'm there. I'm down. But there's really, a movie has to really, really grab my attention for me to want to go see it at the movie theater. I would have never, I don't think, unless my wife dragged me to it, have gone to the movie theater to see Milan. I wouldn't have. I'd have waited for it to come out. That's just me. But there are a lot of people like you, RJ, who that's their release. They want to go to movies every weekend. I don't understand it, but
so Jay, real quick, we talked earlier right before we decided to jump on here. You had the topic of maybe us listing what we consider to be our top 5 movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're about ready to give Vaughn his opportunity to review the 2 movies, so we can go this next round. But let's go ahead and talk about that. So Vaughn is our guest. I know we're putting you on the spot a little, but if you had to choose 5, and I know this is difficult when you're a real big movie buff to kind of get that list down to 5. But let's just say you pick your 5 movies that hey, you only got a week to live, and these are you only get 5 movies to pick to watch. What are those movies for Vaughn?
Do we need to go in order of which one's our favorite? Okay, well, top 5. Number 1 is easily Shawshank Redemption. I can watch that anytime.
Good one.
They show it all the time on TNT, but yeah, I don't care when it's on. I'll sit there and watch the rest of it. That movie, I saw that one in the theater, almost had me crying in the theater. But that movie's just beautiful to look at. The acting's amazing. It inspires you. The scene that got me the most is when Andy got them beer because they were tarring the top of the roof.
Yeah.
And all of them got to drink beer, and then they all felt like they were free men just for a moment. I was just sitting there in awe. I'm like, I can drink beer whenever I want. These people drink beer, and it's like the biggest thing in their life. Just amazing. But yeah, that's easily my number 1. No, top 3 are pretty easy. Number 2 is Die Hard. That's another one I'll watch no matter what. I adore it. My wife hates it. Don't care. But
okay, Vaughn. So let me ask you this, because this is one of the biggest movie debates of all time about that movie.
Yes, it's a Christmas movie.
Okay, that's what I want to know. Christmas movie or not?
It's a Christmas movie because it ends with a Christmas song. That's the only one out. Yeah, it's a Christmas movie. I get why people don't think so, because who wants to see a Christmas movie where you shoot 18 people? But yeah, it's a Christmas movie. But that movie's incredible. Number 3, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is always in my top 3. Movie makes me laugh every time. Makes me miss Chicago because I'm originally from there, and I saw it down here, and I started missing home. Funny thing was, that summer I ended up seeing it up in Chicago too, and I was like, oh yeah, that's where the the parking garage is. That's where they went. And I saw the house where what's his name?
Ferris Bueller.
Cameron.
Oh, Cameron.
Cameron, the one where the garage with the glass
Ferrari.
and the Ferrari.
Oh yeah.
You can barely see it from the street, but you can see it. Um, Top five Princess Brides up there for me because I can watch that anytime. Always makes me laugh,
That's a good one.
touching. Uh, man, it's hilarious. Number five, man, Star Wars, New Hope usually up there, but Pulp Fiction's up there for me too. So I'll say Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Those are my top five.
That's the problem with top five lists is that they're always
That's a good one.
and
I like Pulp Fiction.
number five for me is always so fluid, because I'll change my number five out. There's three movies that are rock solid, always going to be up there.
That's me.
Four kind of wavers sometimes, but number five is always that one fluid one that just kind of gets you. So, going back to your top five there, Vaughn. So, Ferris Bueller. What is it about that movie that draws you to it, other than the fact that it's from Chicago?
It's also a fantasy. People want to take time off work and hang with their friends, and they had a good time. You think about all the stuff they did. They went to a Cubs game. They went out to eat. They marched in a parade. They went to the art museum, and it's just like you want to hang with your friends instead of going to work or going to school.
It's a classic play hooky for a day, right? And
exactly,
and get away from the everyday routine.
He was there with his best friend and his girlfriend. I mean, you do want to hang with your best friend. Just get out. Yeah, and Chicago had a lot to do with it too. But yeah, it's everybody wants to do that. Just hang out for a day with your friends.
So, I mean, just kind of going from your list there, I take it. What's your favorite genre movie? Because you got a lot of comedy in there.
The funny thing is, it's I was talking to Shelby in the group about it. I think my favorite genre is actually coming of age movies where they're kind of teenagers and they're learning stuff. Like I love Stand By Me. I love The Sandlot.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Too.
Just I don't know. It's something about that time. I guess it's because that time in my life was a big change because I moved from Chicago to Lancaster and lost all my friends in sixth grade, and a lot of the kids were all friends. Kind of hurt me, but yeah, it feels like I kind of lost that little gap in my life. So I love those coming of age movies where they're 12 to 16 years old. It's another one too. Stephen King's It. That's another good one.
Yeah, that's good. That's for sure.
So, Roll, let's hear your top five because I'm kind of curious about this. I mean, where exactly do you rank Cinderella? Because
Cinderella is kind of like my all-time favorite, but I set that one aside because it's just one of those movies that no one can ever beat. But it's a classic story. It always reminds me of you, Jay, because I always see you as one of the ugly stepsisters, and you're always trying to be the Belle in reality. It doesn't matter how much makeup you put on, you're still fugly. But I love you. But anyway, so let's
draw a line and keep talking, baby.
So I guess if I'm going to say again, what are five movies that I'd like to watch the last few, I guess, days of my life, and I put everything else aside, I think I could start off with It's a Wonderful Life. It's a great story. You see it every year. It's one of those movies that I almost feel like I don't get into the holiday season until I watch that movie. And again, it's a great little story, right? It's Jimmy Stewart and it kind of gives you that backdrop of what life would be like. Here you go. You get a choice between what life has given you and what you thought your life was going to be. And then when you're put in that situation where it's taken away from you, then you realize, hey, what I had was the most incredible thing, and that's what I want the most, right? So it's a pretty good story. Believe it or not, I would probably say Godfather is another one of my favorite. I'm a big fan of the kind of the mob genre. Goodfellas and all that's great, but to me the the movie that really set the bar was Godfather. So I really like that movie. I can watch that movie over and over again as well. From my geeky comic book side, the original Batman. With all the better technology and all the subsequent superhero genre movies that have come out, especially the Marvel movies, I could still go back and watch Batman. And
I could too.
Jack Nicholson. I mean, those guys were. I mean, they brought to the big screen the comic book hero that we grew up loving, and they were the first really to do it. I also like the movie 300. I know that this is a little bit going backwards because I told you I don't really like very over the top violent gore scenes, but the cinematography in that was awesome. That was one of those movies where, when you talk about colors, the vivid colors that they shot that in, and the different, some of the different angles, and how they kind of slowed certain scenes down, and you had that almost 360-degree aspect to some of them. The story of Leonidas, and that, I know it's embellished obviously for Hollywood, but still it's rooted in actual history. And right. It's hard not to like that movie. I really, really enjoy it. And then, of course, what we talked about earlier, my all-time favorite is The Quiet Man. And although I'm not necessarily the biggest John Wayne fan, for me, that movie is much more than John Wayne. It's a real quirky, fun movie. I think I told Vaughn off air that one of my favorite stories about that being when I used to work at the tortilla factory and, putting in 14, 15, 16 hours, and it being a couple hours where I had to get up and go to work, and I still jumped up out of bed to go watch it, just because that's how much I really love that movie. So for me, that's kind of those would be the 5 movies I think that if I saw those and nothing else, I'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad list. There's, I honestly, Godfather, I wouldn't have put that. I wouldn't have put you down for that in your top 5. 300 actually kind of surprises me more than any of them, I think, because I do know that you're not a big fan of the whole violent, let's slash everybody's head off kind of movies and things like that.
Right. There was a lot of gore in some of those fight scenes. For some reason, I felt like the special effects were maybe so over the top that it just didn't seem like a true gore movie, even though there was a lot of gore in it.
Makes me wonder about you've seen Gladiator, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think about the battle scene in that one at the very beginning?
No, I like Gladiator. It's a good movie. I'm just not the biggest Russell Crowe fan. I think he's a decent actor, but I just I know Dad was a huge Russell Crowe fan, and I loved watching the movie. In fact, I think the first time I watched it was at Dad's house, and I like it. I mean, again, a lot of war movies or war-based even series like The Last Kingdom, which is one of the movies I like. I mean, one of the series I like, which has a lot of battle scenes, and it has a lot of gore. But, I think the mindset is in that time, that's how war was done, right? You just, hell, half the time you don't even know if you're killing the enemy or killing your own friend. You're just basically slashing a sword in every direction and praying to God you don't get killed, right?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the better scenes in that during that whole fight scene in Gladiator when he goes back with one of his own men, turns around and is fixing to chop the guy's head off before he realizes it's his guy, Right. So RJ, with you being the youngest, I'm going to make you go last. Okay.
All right,
so
that's fair.
I'm going to throw my top 5 out there. And again, in no specific order. I think, my favorite movie of all time is a movie. I mean, this one I could watch over and over and over again. And I have watched over and over and over again to the point where I have the final soliloquy of the movie memorized, and that's A Few Good Men. You know that scene with Jack Nicholas in the courtroom, man, that thing is just so great, and the way Tom Cruise just eggs him into giving up the goods.
You want answers?
Yeah, I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. That whole. I can recite the whole thing. I would if we had time, but I can't. No, from memory. I promise you, I could.
I believe you.
But there's so many subtleties in the trial work, leading up to the final trial that I like. There's a scene where, I think it's Kevin Bacon's character, the other lawyer, the opposing lawyer, he's got a Marine on the stand asking him to read in, the Marine handbook. Where does it tell you that you have to do these code reds? And where does it tell you have to discipline anybody? And, where does it say that? And he goes, well, it doesn't say that in the book. That's just something that's expected of us. And Kevin Bacon thought he's got a good point, and he starts walking away, and Tom Cruise walks up behind him, grabs the book out of his hand, hands it back to him, and says, tell me in this book where it tells you where the mess hall is or what time you're supposed to eat. He goes, well, that's not in the book. He goes, well, if it's not in the book, how do you know when you're supposed to go eat? He goes, well, I guess at chow time, I just follow everybody else, and that kind of misdirection and that kind of, just brilliance in the trial work. One of the better scenes for me. Goodfellas, one of my top three. That's another one that I could watch, man, over and over again. I've fallen asleep to that. The scene where he's stabbing the guy in the trunk of the car after they run him over. That's so awesome. Sleeping, and I hear that, and then Robert De Niro takes a gun out and just pops him, 3 or 4 more times. Man, it's such a great movie. One of my favorite lines in the whole thing is when Ray Liotta's character, when he's still a kid and he's just now getting involved with the mob, and he's talking about how he got into being with the mob, and they take him to go burn some opposing cab companies' cars, right? And he's busting out the windows, he's pouring gasoline in, and he lights the match and throws it in, and the whole thing just explodes, and they freeze frame right there as he's running away. And he said, one day my mother went to the butcher and to the baker, and she was walking home, and the other kids got her bags and walked her home and, carried all her bags. And he said, you know why? It was out of respect, right? Because now these kids respected him because he was with the mob and stuff like that. One of the great, great movies, man. My favorite sports movie of all time, Bull Durham. I love that movie, man. That's such a great movie. The whole baseball aspect of it. I'm the biggest baseball fan in the world. It talks about the church of baseball, but the love story between Susan Sarandon and Kevin Costner, really, really good. Tim Robbins, I think one of his first actual roles, great in that movie where he plays the big dumb jock. All he's concerned about is getting laid. He doesn't care about anything else. But the way Kevin Costner is paired with him and kind of matures him into this, great baseball player. One of my top 5 movies of all time, and a lot of people are surprised by this one. The Disney cartoon version of Aladdin. I love that movie, man. The songs in it, I could sing the songs over and over again. The scene where he makes Aladdin into a prince for the first time, and they're walking into Agrabah with all the the big parade and the song. That I love that movie, man. And, A Whole New World. Who doesn't like that song? I sing that one at karaoke. It's awesome. And again, my number 5 is always fluid, and it will switch between a sports movie and a love story. It'll usually switch between Major League or Casablanca. And right now, Casablanca is in my top 5 just because we reviewed it again recently. I didn't forget. I've seen that movie a million times. I saw it again. I realized, man, this is just so great. It's got to be in my top 5. There's no way around it. It's the movie that got me into old movies. It's the movie that made me want to watch old Humphrey Bogart movies, and it's the movie that made me want to go watch black and white movies. It's just you guys have seen it. When we reviewed it, how close it was. But yeah, that's my top 5. That rounds it out for me.
So real
I
quick,
wish one of y'all. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
no. What I was going to say, Vaughn, is so this is whether you believe it or not. This is how well I know my brother. I don't know if you can see my list here. Let's see if I can get it in the frame.
Oh, yeah, you got Casablanca. Bull
Yeah.
No, I got Goodfellas,
Oh, is that
Goodfellas,
Goodfellas? Okay.
You Good Man, and Bull Durham.
Yep.
Okay. Well, there
That's
you
what I
go.
have written down on the paper. So I knew those. The one that does surprise me, Jay, is Aladdin, right? And
I love that movie, man.
no. And you know what? Honestly, I could see that because Robin Williams was again. We were so blessed that we had Robin Williams and we got to experience him in so many. I mean, maybe one of our episodes we do the whole thing about Robin Williams because he was in so many good roles. In fact, Vaughn, I think you actually had one of the poll questions you had on your site was, "What's your favorite Robin Williams movie?" And Patch Adams is. I mean, I love that movie too.
That's a great movie, man.
And you know, he's done Mrs. Doubtfire. He was fantastic in that.
Flubber.
Huh?
Flubber. Flubber.
Jumanji, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
he's been in so many great movies. And Good Will Hunting. I mean, so many phenomenal. But what I was going to say is, did you happen to watch the live version of Aladdin or the remake they did of Aladdin with Will Smith?
I couldn't get past Will Smith being the genie. I just couldn't.
You know, Will Smith I think his best job.
He did a good job. Yeah.
I think the shoes were too big for him to fill.
Yeah.
I don't think any performance he could have done is ever going to live up to the bar that Robin Williams set. And it's unfortunate
as an actor, man. I mean,
he did that, but
Independence Day is a great movie. I Am Legend. That's a great movie. Will Smith is a great actor. I love Will Smith as an actor. I just couldn't buy him in the role of Aladdin. And I guess you're right, because I am biased because Aladdin is one of my top 5 favorite movies. Again, we had this discussion in consecutive weeks there's certain movies where an actor plays that character and you can never see anybody else playing that character. We talked about Sigourney Weaver and Aliens. We talked about, Buford T. Justice. You can never see anybody but, help me out, guys. His name
Jackie Gleason.
Jackie Gleason, yeah.
I could never see anybody else playing the genie in Aladdin but Robin Williams. That's part of the bias for me on that.
Yeah, he did a fine job, though. I think all they were looking for was an actor with a big personality, which Will Smith has. He did fine, but he's not Robin Williams. What I was going to ask, though, so do y'all have a favorite genre, Roland or Jesse?
As far as genres go, not really. I kind of watch. I'm all over the place, man. If you look at some of the movies that are even not just in my top 5, but even my top 10, I mean, you got a cartoon in there, you got an epic love story in there, a gangster movie, a sports movie.
Yeah,
all over. When Harry Met Sally is one of my probably in my top 10 favorite movies, which is another romantic comedy. But then Major League, which is the stupid sports movies, in my top 10. But I think for me, I don't really have one specific genre that I kind of gravitate to. I'm kind of like all over the map with that.
And I'm the same way, Vaughn. I don't necessarily have to. I mean, because I love Star Wars movies. I love movies based on cartoon. I mean, on comic book characters. I mean, I love all the Marvel. Not some people don't like the DC Universe movies that have come out, but I love all of them pretty much. Even some of the sucky Batmans that came out, it's still based on Batman. And then I'm a huge classic movie. I love watching classic movies.
I like watching black and white movies too.
And sports movies, gangster movies. I mean, Jaws. Hell, I love watching Jaws too every now and then. I'm not going to say it's in my top 10, but if it's on, the nostalgia it brings from when I was a kid, remembering that just the theme, the Jaws theme was still has it made an impact on me. So I'm kind of all over the board too. I can watch anything and everything just about. If it's got a good story and it's not too tightly wound. Like again, I think if when we get back to going and looking at Uncut Gems again, I think the storyline for me, it's a good storyline. I think what turns me off on the actual movie is just the tense drama that's almost nonstop. It's almost to the point of being unpalatable for me. But it's still a great story. And so I don't, so I think that's why with me, I'm kind of all over the board. I can watch all kinds of movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Xanadu.
If that was its own genre, I wouldn't watch it.
All right, RJ, you're up, buddy.
Well, I'm going to talk Death into giving me 2 extra hours and give you 6. So I actually ranked mine in order. I did. I got Godfather #1. I just love that movie. I can watch it anytime, any place. I actually bought it for my dad for Father's Day on Blu-ray, and then
he borrowed it back, and I missed it for like a month.
Yeah, so that's the point I was gonna make. And then
still out of the house.
And then no, he has it now. But when I did still live there, I would occasionally go kind of, I don't want to say steal it, but borrow it for a while and watch it every couple weekends. The Dark Knight, I really love that movie. I think Heath Ledger's Joker I just love the kind of realness that Heath Ledger brought to Joker. Number 3, I'm sure is not going to surprise either two of my dad or my uncle. Lion King. That was one of my favorite movies as a kid. And, the same thing you were saying about Aladdin. Yeah, I mean, that one. And, oh, dang it. What's Hakuna Matata?
Yeah.
I mean, who can hate Hakuna Matata?
You can't.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the thing that's so infuriating about Disney movies, man. There's just so many great parts. You just can't hate it.
Yeah. And so just to specify a little, I meant the cartoon version, but I also liked the live action. I didn't think it was bad. I know not everybody liked it, but for me, I mean, it's not greater than the original, but it's not bad at all. Next, I'd say Harry Potter. I read the books first, so the movies could have been better, but just bringing those movies. If I had to pick one, I'd probably go. I'd probably go The Goblet of Fire.
That's great. To me, that's the best movie in the set. Goblet of Fire. Because
you really see Harry transition in that one, I think, and kind of evolve into the person he needs to be. Or at least start the evolution.
See the story start to take a darker toll too in the movie. Yeah,
definitely. So if I had to pick one, I'd say that one. But I can binge watch the whole series on a weekend. Ocean's 11. I just really like that movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. I love it. I love the fact that it's in Vegas. I think Clooney and is it Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
I think they both played great roles. Bernie Mac. Who can hate Bernie Mac? I remember watching the Bernie Mac show. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember watching the Bernie Mac show with my dad. So
America.
Ocean's 11, and then this is a recent movie, and this is why I had to pick 6 because I could swap Ocean's 11 and this, but Ford versus Ferrari. That's got Brad Pitt, Matt Damon in it. It's a good movie. Obviously, yeah, it's a good one. I recently watched it. I saw it's on Netflix, I think, right, Vaughn?
I'm not sure. I actually got it at the library.
Oh, okay. Well, it's on one of the streaming services, and I love that story. I knew about the story before. Obviously, like I said, I'm into cars, but I never really had the desire to go watch it in theaters for whatever reason. And then I saw it was on and clicked on it, and it's good. I definitely recommend it. And honorable mention to Casablanca. It was hard for me to leave it out, but and one of those things I'd because I'm such a smooth cat like Rick, I'd feel death out and see if he wanted to watch it with me.
And that's the thing about, when you're having to rank movies, there's sometimes you didn't have to limit it to a top 5. If we could go to a top 10, there's a lot of other
We'd
movies.
be here all night. Yeah.
We really, really would. But, that's awesome. We got everybody's listen, and there's a lot of really great movies in there. But it's getting to that point tonight. So, Vaughn, we have already reviewed Casablanca, and we have already reviewed Spartacus. So let's get your take, first of all, on Casablanca.
Casablanca. So I watched it again this weekend. I'd seen it years ago, and still almost. The only word I can say it's almost perfect. It's a great movie. The emotion that he has for his ex-girlfriend or whatever was incredible. I thought Humphrey Bogart did a great job. Ingrid Bergman was incredible. The whole story's just it's touching because to let go of somebody that you love, that you got back. He got her back. He loved her, but he had to let her go. And I was just like, yeah, it's a great movie. That's one of those ones that I could watch over and over again. So, did you want me to give you my score for it?
Yeah, let's get your breakdown of it.
So for the plot storyline, like I said, it's perfect. So I gave it a 5. The whole story. Trying to think. Well, yeah, I mean there was a slight twist in there, which I liked too. On the star power strength, I don't know who all those people were back then, but Humphrey Bogart's obviously a legend. Ingrid Bergman's a legend, so I gave it a 5. The rest of the people, I didn't really know who they were. I don't know who Sam was. Was Sam in any other movie?
I don't think he was, but a lot of those actors,
Peter Lorre.
The guy who played Ferrari, the guy who played Ungarte, these guys were all stars in their own right and carried movies in their own. And they were relegated to backup players in this movie because they were starring behind the biggest star at the time, Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah, so I give it a 5 because it's Humphrey Bogart. Quality of acting, 5. Like I said, Rick's emotion, Rick looking sad made me sad when he got that note from I forgot her name. But
From Elsa.
What's Elsa?
Ilsa.
Yeah. When he got the note from her that she was leaving, I love you. That even touched me. So emotional payoff, 5. And would I watch it again? 4, because I've seen it twice. I'd watch it again, obviously, but I'm not going to have to see it again immediately.
Yeah,
but it's a good movie.
It was when we, the Casablanca and what was the movie that went up against RJ?
Parasite.
Parasite.
That's right.
That was probably one of the hardest weeks that reviewing movies that we had. Just because both of those movies were so strong. Multiple Academy Award wins for both movies, including Best Picture for both movies. But you're right, man. To me, Casablanca is just an almost perfect movie. But it is what it is. So let's move on to now your review of Spartacus.
So Spartacus, I know I've seen before, but I didn't remember because I always get it mixed up with Lawrence of Arabia. And so I watched it again this weekend, and I realized I like Lawrence of Arabia a lot more than Spartacus. Spartacus was too long. And I think Stanley Kubrick's a genius, but sometimes some of these scenes go on way too long. Kirk Douglas was amazing, though, and I think that I'll get into the rest of the cast when I get there. But it was just too long, and I'll be honest, I had to watch it in 2 days.
Yeah, I think
it doesn't hold up. Halfway through, I was just like, you know what? I don't care about this storyline. Let's get on to something else. But yeah, it's a good movie.
I think that was most of us. I had to break it up into 2 parts. I know RJ had to break it up into 2 parts. I think, or Roland did. I think RJ kind of braved up.
I watched it all. I watched all the way through.
Oh,
did you? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, you're a better man than me, dude. Because I couldn't. After 2 hours, I was like, dude, this still has another freaking hour.
So for the plot storyline, I gave it a 4.5. I think it was a good storyline, good plot, but that's not the storyline's fault that I thought was going on too long. So much going into it. star power. I mean, good gosh, Kirk Douglas, Sir Laurence Olivier, Gene
Yes.
Simmons, Charles Lawton, Peter
Yeah.
Ustinov, and I didn't even realize Tony Curtis was in there. I was like, this
Yeah.
Tony Curtis. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So that's a 5. I mean, quality of acting. Well, obviously it's a 5 because that's what carried me to watch it. I was amazed at the acting. Emotional buy-in. You know what? I had to put my mindset of if I watched it back in the '60s, and so I gave it a 4. I think now I don't think that movie would work now. I think Casablanca would still work. I just don't think Spartacus would work on a big screen now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so emotional buy-in, I gave it a 4. And would I watch it again? 3. I think I would watch it again because I always want to give it another chance. It's a classic and everybody enjoys it, but that's definitely I'm not gonna be rushing out to watch that again. I have to set outside a whole weekend when the family's gone and take the dog with them. Maybe I could watch it.
Yeah. So overall, you gave
Well,
Casablanca.
Vaughn, go ahead.
I was gonna say he gave overall
Go
a
ahead.
24 to Casablanca.
24 to Casablanca, 21.5 for Spartacus.
All right, bro, go ahead.
So, and both of those are very solid, good scores. Both of them. Obviously, Casablanca scored better for you, and I get that. I think when we did the review with Stephanie, one of the things I pointed out was that I think when Spartacus came out, I think Hollywood studios at that point were very much in the wheelhouse of making these big production movies. So much so in making the movie going experience just extra special. So like at the very beginning, you have probably the first 5 minutes of the movie is really just musical, right? The interlude.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's because they didn't have movie previews back then. They didn't have that first 5 minutes that you can get, let people get seated, you get the last people run into the concession stand and all that. Now we have movie trivia and previews and all that stuff that eats up that time. But back in that time frame, that was the interlude part, and then the intermission was because it was a long movie.
Yeah.
At some point, you had to give people a chance to get up and stretch their legs, go out, to the restroom, go mingle a little bit, get back into the storyline. So, I think that's part of it that does draw it out long, and it is a long story. They probably could trim it up. Obviously, the other thing too, Vaughn, is as we discussed with Stephanie at that time was in that time setting of the film, not the actual storyline, but the film when it was filmed and everything. We had, as a viewing audience, I believe we had much longer attention spans. So again, when you got out of the house, went to the movie theater, it was even so much so than it is today, was getting out and doing something special, right? And you could give it a whole matinee afternoon. Matinee movie formats were meant to really get you for the entire afternoon.
Oh yeah.
Originally, so I can, but I do clearly understand. I mean, nowadays, especially with so many things going on in our lives, it's hard to dedicate 3+ hours to anything, much less a film.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was it? 3 hours long? Xanadu felt longer.
That's true.
But back then that was the event. It's like, let's get the family together, let's go see a movie. That's your day. I mean, that's from 5 till whenever you got home. That was your day. Same with like Gone with the Wind's 4 hours long.
Yeah.
And you had to, that was a special event to see it. Yeah, 10 Commandments, Lawrence of Arabia, yeah. So
Oh
yeah.
One of my favorite movies, The Sound of Music, is like that. It's 3.5 hours.
So
which is funny.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish your thought.
it's just funny that Avengers Endgame is 3 hours, and I didn't feel like that with that movie.
Right.
I did. When I saw Avengers Endgame in the theater, I thought it was long, and I realized that I was like, man, we're going on to hour number 2.5 right here, and we're still
Yeah.
not. I think at that point the final battle scene had just started to happen. You still had another 30 minutes battle scene left.
I'm with you, Vaughn. It doesn't feel like it's 3 hours long, but I think that's
Not
good.
to me.
Yeah. Whereas when I watch Spartacus, I'm just like, oh my god.
All right. Well, we have Vaughn's overall score. I think Vaughn clearly chose Casablanca in this round. Roll. So let's get your take. Which one is moving on for you?
Yeah, so I mean, it's tough for me. I'm not going to revisit the score. I think we talked about we don't need to do that. I think we just need to really. I think either way I go, I'm doing the other a disservice because I think they both are really good movies and can move on, but only one can survive. Honestly, guys, I think Casablanca, for as much as I really like that movie, and it is probably going to win anyway, I'm going to be the dissenting vote, and I'm going to go with Spartacus.
You would, RJ?
I know you said we don't need to get into scores, but I'll do a quick score update. I bumped my total score on Spartacus up after revisiting it to 18. I think some of the message and kind of revisiting it in a new light, I bumped it up to a total score of 18. Casablanca, total score of 24. So Casablanca is moving on for me.
Yep. And I'm kind of like you, RJ. I kind of went through and looked at scoring again, and I kind of broke both movies down again. And no way about it. I mean, Spartacus, it was a good movie. I really, really enjoyed it, even though it was 3 hours long. I think that's really the only chief complaint that I have about that movie is that it's long. That and the fact that Kirk Douglas's hair somehow stays perfectly still throughout the whole movie. That I don't get that, but whatever.
I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah, man. I told that when we reviewed the movie, I told him there's that one scene where he's trying to rally the troop, the troops around him that they're gonna have to go fight the Romans, and they're panning over everybody's hair's all windswept and messed up, and the Romans at the same time are giving the same speech, and their hair is all messed up, and they look like like hell. But they cut to Kirk Douglas, man. He's got the perfect comb back. look like 2 cans of Aquanet on there, so that sucker ain't moving. I mean,
I didn't even notice that. Now you make me want to see it again.
Not a hair out of place on that movie. But
Fonzie.
For me, man, Casablanca's it. I mean, it's just, for as good as Spartacus is, Casablanca is just better. And I think that's just the way it goes. I mean, when you have to look at in the annals of, I think Vaughn said it best, and I think that's not one that any of us touched upon earlier, was it's basically the perfect movie. It's got a perfect story, perfect direction. The actors, the people, the people that were chosen for the roles, they couldn't have chose better actors.
No kidding. Yeah.
The acting itself was flawless. Ingrid Bergman, she was just a looker back in the day. There's just no way around it. It is basically the perfect movie. I know that a lot of people talk about when you go to film school, the movie that everybody wants to study is
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane, but I've seen Citizen Kane, and honestly, I wasn't that impressed with it. I've seen Casablanca I'll tell you what, the fact that I've seen Casablanca probably over 100 times, and I've seen Citizen Kane maybe once. And let's be honest, Roland, have you ever seen Citizen Kane?
Yes, I have. I've seen it.
RJ?
No.
No.
I've seen it.
Yeah. I wasn't really impressed with it,
Wow. No, it's a great movie, but kind of like Spartacus, it seems long. But yeah.
Yeah.
But I think overall consensus on the show, guys, Casablanca is going to move forward. Of course, we're going to take this out.
Wait. We still got to give viewers the chance to vote. So I'm going to make an appeal. Let's turn this thing upside down. Vote Spartacus this week, folks. Spartacus. I'm going to
stay neutral. Because
Okay, so
yeah,
calm down.
yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna take this to the fans. We'll put up the polls later on today. RJ will have the poll up. I'll throw a poll out in Bond Cinema Group, and we'll get your opinions. What do you think should move on? Should it be Spartacus? Should it be Casablanca? It's going to be a real battle because they were both very high scoring movies, and I think that I told the guys this earlier, Vaughn, that the right side of our bracket, unfortunately, was the strongest side. You had Casablanca, you had Parasite, you had Spartacus, and surprisingly enough,
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
really strong movies on the same side, and on the other side, it was just a trounce fest, man. You had
Zan
Pittsburgh.
doing
Pittsburgh.
the piece that saved Pittsburgh.
yeah, so it is what it is. Next week, we will have Stephanie on to review Smoking the Bandit versus Uncut Gems, and we'll find out who's going to be moving on to the next round as well. So, to our fans, please get out there and vote. Let's hear your voice. Let's hear who you think should be moving on. Should it be Spartacus or should it be Casablanca? And Vaughn, we want to thank you again for coming on. We look forward to having you on, of course, for our final show. When we have our final two movies, we are going to have a roundtable, which we're going to have, a total of 7 of us on the roundtable. I didn't throw Roland and RJ this yet, but Vaughn's going to be joining us for the roundtable. Stephanie will be joining us for the roundtable. Our brother Gabriel will be joining us for the roundtable. And we have a late entrant, another movie buff, but our cousin Sam will be joining us for the roundtable as well.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
So we're going to have a 7-person roundtable. We'll discuss a couple of different topics, and then we'll just take a massive vote on who the winner should be. But that's it for this week, guys. Vaughn, thank you for coming back on, buddy. We really, really appreciate it. We look forward to having you back on in the future.
Thanks for having me. You guys do a great job. Do a great show.
Hey, thanks, Ron. Hey, one more time before you head out, why don't you plug your
Oh yeah, Cinema
Facebook
Chat. Cinema Chat for movie lovers and casual fans on Facebook. Got 315 people now. I just got a notification,
Awesome.
but yeah,
Awesome.
we're having fun in there.
Let's get him to 400 and let's get us up to 300 so we can, at least not feel bad about getting trounced over here. Great job, Vaughn. We'll talk to you later, buddy. Thanks for coming on.
All right, guys, take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Have a good night, Vaughn.
So, there you have it, boys.
In all sincerity, I could have gone either way. I mean, obviously, Casablanca is a fantastic movie. I think I'm just trying to be the controversial one in this, trying to stand up for the underdog. But before we, I think we're coming up on our time limit. Let's give a little bit of airtime to those Dallas Stars, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Back in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
20
Awesome.
years.
And what a great way to get there, man. That third period and that overtime were something else. I told RJ earlier, I really did. I gave up. I thought, this is not the Stars' night. I went to bed before the third period started, and they were down 2-0. And I thought, okay, we'll work on Game 6 here, and we'll take them there. And just to be woken up by an alert a little while later, saying that the Stars had won it in overtime, and I was like, how the hell did that happen? So I had to go back and rewatch the third period and watch the overtime, and it was a great game.
Well, I admittedly, I'm not a big hockey guy. I do admit that to some degree you could call me a bandwagon fan on this. I mean, I really cheer for all the Dallas teams. Am I really investing in the Dallas Stars? No. So I don't want to represent myself as this hardcore Dallas Stars fan, but I'm excited for them. I'm glad they're in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They are probably due for another swipe at it. They are certainly a great team. I personally, just to be, let you know, ever since the bubble came, I haven't watched any games. I haven't consumed them on the actual, on TV. I've been following Gamecast, right? So, I mean, I got ESPN on everything, my phone, my iPad, on this damn laptop. So whenever I knew they were playing, I'd put the Gamecast on. And I was like you, Jay, when Las Vegas went up 2-0. I was, it was Monday Night Football anyway, and I'm a huge football guy. I'll watch football just about anytime over anything else. So I went back to watching the football game, keeping track of my fantasy league, which I got hosed this week. But anyway, that's another topic. But when I went back and checked the score, and it was 2-2. And I thought, wow, all right. And put my daughter to the bed, was putting up dishes, getting ready to go to bed myself. And when I made it back to the room, I saw the Stars won in overtime 3-2. And I thought, holy mackerel, those guys came back from 2 down. So kudos to the Stars. I mean, it was, and then I did the same thing. I went back and rewatched, and I was just, it was pretty good. It was awesome.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I essentially did the same thing. As I was telling you off screen earlier, Uncle JJ, I had a friend in the Marines that was in town. So I was over at his house watching Monday Night Football and keeping track of my fantasy team. But I kept checking the Star score just to see how they were doing. And then once I did get home, once I saw that they won, saw the goals and that finishing goals, just like you said, it's something out of Mighty Ducks.
Yeah.
So
that shot he took from the wing, man, was it was ridiculous. I wouldn't have wanted to been in the way of that puck, man. I'll tell you what, he looked like he hit that thing 240 miles an hour.
Yeah, so go Stars. Let's hope we can. Just got 4 more to be champions, but
4 more wins, baby.
4 more wins. Also, congratulations to Luka on being named to first team All NBA. He's the first player in their first or second season to do so since Tim Duncan in 1999. If not for COVID, he would have been the youngest. Yeah. But because of the delay, LeBron still holds that title. And kudos to LeBron for also setting a record on 16th All-NBA, 13th first-time All-NBA. That's also a record, so kudos to LeBron as well. Yeah. And go home, Clippers.
I was going to say, kudos to Mud for knocking out the Clippers for RJ.
In other news, we got devastating report that Sean Lee's he's injured. He'll be out. Van Der Esch is out. I don't know.
You might as well just throw in the towel for the season, dude.
I'm getting ready to mail in. Yeah. I revised my. Yeah, Blake Jarwin. Actually, it's amazing that we got spoiled for many years with Jason Witten, and we were really blessed with a tight end who was a legitimate passing threat. Even though in his older age, Jason Witten wasn't going to get any yards after catch. He's just too damn slow, but he always seemed to find a way to get open. Even when he was being covered by a faster person, he knew how to use his body. He was extremely smart. I think Jarwin is an exceptional talent as well, but I'm kind of wondering. We talked about Leighton Vander Esch. RJ and I were debating earlier today. He likes to pick on Sean Lee being a China doll, and so I gave it back to him because Vander Esch was his boy, and now he's out for 6 games or whatever. And
second season in a row.
What's that?
Yeah.
Second season in a row.
I know, and that's what I'm. But I worry about Jarwin too because remember Jarwin got hurt. And so, and sometimes it's just bad luck, right? I mean, I didn't watch. I mean, I watched the Cowboy game, and I didn't necessarily see the play in which Van Der Esch really hurt himself. But he fractured his collarbone, so it must have been pretty. I'm assuming it was a hard impact, but that guy was a stud his first year. And you just hope that he doesn't become one of these players that's just mired in injury, that kind of supersedes his talent level.
And
You know,
where's that win when you need him? Jesus Christ.
well, and the other thing too is Jalen Smith. I mean, the guy's got heart, and he plays hard and everything. But I was telling RJ, I mean, he's a great tackler, but he's not, to me, he's not a game changer anymore. I don't ever know that he really was even after coming back from his injury, from his what should have been a career in an injury. He's a solid talent, but it's like I was telling RJ, the one thing about Sean Lee, even though he had several seasons too where he's missed multiple games, is he always just seemed to know where the ball was. He had a knack for getting there and causing a disruption.
Yep.
I don't feel that from Jalen Smith right now. I mean, maybe he'll evolve. I don't know, but we need to get some linebacking help.
Well, I mean, this is a far cry from 2 years ago where we thought that we had the greatest linebacking core
no kidding.
Right. for years and years to come. And here we are 2 years later, and that's out the window.
Yeah, well,
and our defensive line. Go ahead.
I was just no. Go ahead. You finish, because.
No, I was just going to say, and our defensive line needs. I'm frustrated too, because I just seem like it seemed to me that the Rams pretty much at will could run up the middle. And that's the one thing you don't ever want happening as a defense, right? Admittedly, LA does a great job in misdirection. They like to do a lot of plays off of a very basic set. You don't know if they're passing or they're running, but there were several times when they were just handing it up right up the middle and getting 6-7 yards, and that you can't have that. You can't. Not if your defense is going to get a team off the field. I mean, the Cowboys got their asses whipped in time of possession, that score easily could have been much worse. Our offense, I think, sputtered just a little bit, but I think they showed
a little bit.
No. Hey, look, dude, they made plays.
Another season. Bullshit reactionary play calling, dude. No. Where was the play action the whole game? You're telling me that they couldn't figure out how to work Zeke into some play action? They had a grand total of 4 play action plays in the entire game. That is inexcusable. It just is. When you have a weapon like Zeke, and when you have a backup like Tony Pollard, who can also shred a defense up back there, you've got to use those guys as decoys for something, man. You cannot sit here and tell me that you don't trust Dak enough to run some play action, do some rollouts, some bootlegging, and get a pass down the field, man. That's fucking ridiculous that even happened. So you know what's going to happen next week? 80% of their plays are going to be play action. And you know why? Because they got Red Ball's disciple over there still calling the plays. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I think he's right about that last part for sure. Is I think, as much praise as Kellen Moore gets, honestly, the best play caller on the staff is Mike McCarthy, and the sooner they realize that,
the better off will be.
The better off will be. So, and just speaking to that, I mean, I picked the Cowboys to go 12-4. I had them losing this week, so far good for me. But I mean, honestly, the truth is, if they go 8-8, it's not the end of the world. It's the first season, and yes, while we have a new coach, you don't change culture overnight. You don't change players' mentality overnight. So I think he got criticized for going on 4th, but I loved it. It's what we hated Jason Garrett for, because he would, and while we would have made the field goal and probably gone to overtime under Jason Garrett, I mean, we're playing ball to win, guys. So you're not always going to win them all, but it's a new head coach. As I said when I predicted, I thought they were going to lose this one, even though the Rams aren't that great of a team, just because I think you still just have to mesh and get that kind of chemistry going, especially since they didn't have preseason, and they couldn't iron those kinks out. Their time was shortened to get everything work out. So
I think the thing I get frustrated about is the Cowboys, to me, have the talent to win just about any game. Like even last season, even though they had a mediocre record, there were a number of games they still could have won, right? They just needed to make a play.
Yeah.
That Saints game, that we lost. I mean, to me, that was just.
Well, here's the fact for you. In their last 8 one-possession games, they're 1-7.
Yeah.
What?
In their last 8
What's that?
one-possession games, they're 1-7.
I know that, and that's what I mean. That's what frustrates me. Is that's what's really frustrating, is because we can't seem to win those close games. And here we start the season off, and it was a close game. That game was there for the taking. And let me say again, it's biased because I'm a Cowboy fan. That pass interference call at the end, Jay, your point was right. It shouldn't have come down to that, but that was a bullshit call. That was a bullshit call. I guarantee if the roles had been reversed and it was the Rams making the play, Cowboys wouldn't. They either would not have called the flag, or they would have called the Cowboys for pass interference for the hand check and shit. Jalen Ramsey flipped. I mean, he flopped.
Flop. Yeah,
right?
Big time.
He flopped that.
Yeah.
He sold that. That was such bullshit. He got beat. Michael Gallup beat his ass. That should have been. But anyway, that's just bitter Cowboy fan, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, if that's the way the league's going to be, then you're just going to have to deal with that and just go blow out teams so that those calls don't make a difference. So with that being said, like I said, it's a new week. Let's hope it goes better. Let's hope CD Drive's fantasy team gets a win this week. And
they go 1-2.
Anyways, but with that, guys, it was a great show. Glad to have Vaughn back on. I think this is going to be a great episode, even though it's longer than most. Hopefully, all of our followers and newcomers, give us at least a decent amount of time. But thank you all for being locked in with us here on the Now That You Mention It podcast. The three of us know that time is everyone's most valuable asset, and so we appreciate you giving us a piece of your time. We really enjoy doing this, and whether it's only 5 people watching or hopefully one day 5 million, we're so grateful that you take the time to click on the link, go find us on Spotify, or whatever format you're listening us through. And if you don't mind, we just need a couple more seconds. If you're listening on Spotify, like I said, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Podbean, please follow, turn on notifications, and leave us a rating and review. If you're dialed in with us on YouTube through the video, please like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notified when our new episodes are dropped. Excuse me. Go find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit by typing in the Now That You Mention It podcast and hitting the follow button. Happy Sunday to you all, and enjoy the last little bit of your weekend. And with one week coming to a close and a new one beginning, we hope y'all make it another great chapter in your book. Good night, boy. Oh, and thank you to Jesse P. We couldn't do it without you.
Amen.
Good night, boys.
Go Cowboys.
Go Cowboys. Go Stars.
Go Stars.